Down by the riverside.
Yes. So anyways, we are here for a special edition of A Kettle of Fish. We are here to discuss the busting of ghosts.
That's very vague. We're going to talk about the new Ghostbusters movie.
I had a feeling we were going to also kind of just talk about our
Bustin' makes me feel good.
Our history with bustin'?
Yeah, our history with busting.
Fucking like the kids say?
Bussin'.
Bus.
That reminds me, there is a guy on TikTok who does like, he creates like these meals and such, and does like relatively easy recipes. And at the end, when he eats it, if he likes it or not, he's like, "That's bussin'," with like.
Is it the prison food guy?
No, it's not prison food.
There's a prison food guy who does the exact same thing.
Oh, he might have stole it from this guy then.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, the prison guy stole it for that.
Yeah, that checks out.
It checks out.
But yeah, so Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the newest installation of the Ghostbusters franchise.
Easier.
Real quick, just to kind of...
Real talk.
Just to kind of put in perspective any biases we might have towards Ghostbusters, I will be the first to say that Dan Aykroyd could almost just shit on a piece of paper and draw the little like circle with a line through it, ghost, like no ghost emblem, and I would be like, yes, I'm down for this. Let's go. I am an absolute mark for Ghostbusters.
That being said, did you like the all-female one though?
So I don't know if we did touch
on it, I think, at one point, but I don't remember because that was 3 years ago now. So
that was it 3 years ago? It was 2016.
It was like 2 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, well, when
the
we touched on
movie.
it, the other movie, yeah.
We talked about it when Aftermath came out, I think.
Yeah,
or
we did
or whatever the fuck.
Afterlife. Yeah, we did a spoiler cast for that movie as well, and I don't know if we touched on that, but I didn't hate the all-female Ghostbusters.
Oh, I hated it.
Like, by itself. I did in the fact that they were trying to make it not in the same unit. Like, if they had kept up with continuity, like if Winston was Winston and, Spangler was Spangler and all of them, like that part, I would have been much better with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they had kept the continuity, the actual movie, if you were to take that movie and separate it from Ghostbusters, I would have been okay with that. Like, that's fine.
I've got a lot of reasons why, but
the humor, it landed flat with me a lot. But like, just as a movie, like for entertainment purposes, it wasn't great, but it wasn't
horrible.
Garbage to me.
The things that bother me the most is, one, the entire cast was made up of comic relief characters. And it's like, you have nobody to bounce on. There was no good like on-screen chemistry when everybody's a comic relief. Because in the original Ghostbusters, not everybody's a comic relief. You have like a sarcastic guy, you have like a straight guy, like straight edge kind of fucking guy. You got like the religious, I'm just here for the job guy. You got in the comic relief after that.
That's fair. I mean, but all of them are comedians except for maybe Winston. Why did I forget his name?
I guess that's what happens when you get like everybody from SNL to just be on Ghostbusters.
But you're right though. The styles of comedy were very different.
I get exactly what you're talking about, Paul. Yeah. But I also I get.
The CGI looked like it came from the Scooby-Doo movie.
Oh, yeah.
It did do that.
I think it was a cool way to keep the franchise going until we got the...
Afterlife.
Till we got the new movie.
But I wonder if we got Afterlife because the all-female movie didn't do that great.
No, I know that the project was in works for a very long time.
Oh, it was? Okay.
I really wish that they would have kept it in the same universe as opposed to
Yeah.
reimagining, because it would have been cool if they would have done it like in San Francisco. It could have been a different chapter of the Ghostbusters or something.
Which,
Yeah, like another installation of the Ghost Core, like the
funnily enough,
exactly.
that is what the VR game touches on, and it's pseudo canon
But-
because it is like San Francisco Ghostbusters.
right.
Yeah, I will point out they did do a nod to the female movie in the Frozen Empire with the handheld proton gun. I don't know what you want to call it.
The gauntlet proton
gauntlet.
cannon. Yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
I caught that during the movie, so it's pretty neat.
They had Melnitz using it too, so it was even
Yep.
like the only people that ever put that on were female cast. So it was like Lucky and Melnitz both had that.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly okay if they ever tried to like redo it just with a different setting, like more in the universe.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I didn't think Rowan was a good villain in that movie. I didn't like it. The point they were trying to make about the secretary thing felt flat because they didn't sexualize Melnitz or objectify her in the original Ghostbusters. Right. So I'm like, what was the exact sexism point you were trying to make here with Chris Hemsworth? Because it doesn't quite land when the original Ghostbusters didn't actually do that.
Right.
And if you go and watch the cartoon, she was actually an active part of the team quite a few times. So she was. Whereas Chris Hemsworth was a himbo with no brain, and it's like Melnitz wasn't like that at all. So I don't know what they were trying to make with that point. I think that really turned it off. It was like all men are stupid.
I think it was trying to empower women, and then just subjugate men at the same time. It was a very weird imbalance kind of movie. But I just saw it for what it was. It was just a comedy movie that kind of took the Ghostbusters franchise and propelled it into the market again.
Now, I'll be honest.
I enjoyed it for that. So
the Lego version in Lego Dimensions, like the way they handled the all-female Ghostbusters in that, way better than the actual movie.
I didn't know that they were in the Lego Dimensions.
Yeah, they got their own little like story thing, and I think they had little interactions with Bill Murray and what's her name, the main chick from the female one. Fuck, I forgot her name because I hate her so much as an actress. So I just blank on her name because she stops existing for me for a while. Yeah, they had some neat little interactions with like them two in the game and everything. And it really makes me wish that April Fool's announcement of a Lego Ghostbusters game was not an April Fool's joke.
That would have been dope.
Because then they really could have done something about like parallel universes and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, and whatever.
Or expand upon the idea of Ghost Core.
Yeah, which the video games are kind of going free will with that stuff, so we'll see how that goes. Because it does seem like they've now established that the movies, the main 4 movies are quote unquote prime canon, and then the video games fall into kind of like canon adjacent.
Okay.
Because some of the things that happen in the games don't quite line up with the movies, and it's just like,
I gotcha.
But some canonical things still happen in the games that tie back, so it's hit or miss. But it definitely feels like the games are kind of trying to do what they did with the Ghostbusters cartoon in the early 2000s, like where they had that new cast of characters that were like that goth chick and.
Oh, I forgot all
Slimer
about that.
Was like on their team and shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Back when cartoons always had like an X in the name and they were trying to be fucking awesome for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the female Ghostbusters because also feel like that kind of just has to be said or brought up whenever we talk about these new awesome movies. Because I love Afterlife and I loved Frozen Empire. They have their problems, but
Frozen Empire had more problems to me than Afterlife did. But that's Frozen Empire definitely felt like a Ghostbusters 2 situation. Like, it was fun. It was a movie.
Yeah, I still say Ghostbusters 2 is my least favorite of the accepted for canon movies.
Yeah.
And
I love Ghostbusters 2 though, like to be fair, because exactly. I love the Solari brothers scene. Yeah. I love the Vigo as a villain. Like, it's a painting. Like, that's neat. I like the Statue of Liberty.
I think the biggest difference between those four though and the all female cast is, like, I've even mentioned before, the original Ghostbusters, I didn't know that it was supposed to be considered a comedy. I actually thought it was like an action spooky movie that happened to be funny occasionally. But that's also because I was young and I didn't realize the history that cast had, that they were all comedians.
Well, it kind of also touches on like Dan Aykroyd's actual ghost.
Right. His like stuff. His like weird.
The fact that him and Harold Ramis wrote it together, it's like Dan Aykroyd had like real ghost stuff he wanted to do, and Harold Ramis was like, comedy.
Right.
And so you got like a touch of like, oh, they're taking this serious, and then you got, Bill Murray's sarcasm on the sideline. So
that's the beautiful point of Ghostbusters though that I was getting to, is that it's not over the top like slapstick. Oh, we're just doing this because it's serious, like the Scooby-Doo type comedy ghosts. And I think that was honestly the biggest downfall for me with compared to the all female cast. But anyways.
Well, I love comedy stuff that takes itself serious in the world, that like it treats the world with some level of respect that they're trying to build out. It's like, okay, I believe this is where they exist in. Yeah. And it's still a comedy. Orville is a great like take on that too, because it's Seth MacFarlane and you're like, oh, Family Guy, weed humor, fart jokes, whatever. Right. But like the Orville takes itself super serious at times, and you start to believe in this like sci-fi universe, but then it's also got that edge of comedy that Seth MacFarlane's known for. It's a lot more refined, and they definitely touch on like topics of today's problems and shit like that, like old Star Trek used to do. But it's another instance of just comedy taking itself serious and just being great to watch. Right. I love that.
All right. 14 minutes of kind of recapping past Ghostbusters.
We're talking
we've
about
determined I'm definitely a Mark, a fan. Paul, you definitely are as well, because I mean you're
just one of the first movies overall. I love fucking Ghostbusters.
Yeah, exactly.
I have 3 different versions of Tobin's Spirit Guide.
That's pretty awesome. I only have one, but that's all right.
I've got a soft cover, a hard cover, and then I've got a different version of the hard cover.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. Well, Frank, how are you with Ghostbusters? Like, what is your history with it?
It's mainly entertainment. Just movies. I really just follow the movies. Watched it a good bit growing up. And, I'm well versed with the actors and their history. I am very knowledgeable about Dan Aykroyd because he too is autistic, and Dylan's on the spectrum, so I follow that a lot too, just simply because of trying to be more in the know about autism.
That makes sense.
And it's really cool the history with Dan Aykroyd's family, and then of course the whole paranormal thing too, because Felicia and I have gotten really into ghost hunting.
Right.
So that's kind of fueled that fire. But Ghostbusters in general is, just science fiction entertainment. But the lore that's behind it's really interesting. So
that's my favorite bit. That's why I got into all the extended stuff and the cartoons and the games, because I just love the lore of Ghostbusters. that's been built up over the years.
So this is the part that actually I think would be is glad why I'm glad that it's the three of us putting it together. Because me, like, I'm a fan, like, surface level. Like, I can tell you things about it, but
Bustin' makes you feel good.
Bustin' makes me, Bustin' makes me feel good. He misspoke.
Indeed.
But like, you know, you will go like super in depth when it comes to the lore and how things might tie into other installments to the story. And Frank is coming at it from what seems like even a different perspective,
real life perspective. Yeah,
like he's a fan, but it's not because it's Ghostbusters.
It's got some IRL fucking implications.
Right. So that's really cool. So Frank, you're the one that has seen the movie the most recent as far as Frozen Empire goes. Well, what did you think? Like, top level overall kind of like impression of the movie?
So I gotta say, like, I love the fact that they really focus on the old school vibe and the golden years. My absolute favorite scene was when, I'm blanking on the names now. Dan Aykroyd's character.
Ray,
thank you. Ray's sitting in his shop and Ecto-1 goes blasting by out front. He just stops and he looks with this moment of revelry.
Yeah.
And has that smile on his face.
Yeah.
And that is a
really good scene.
That hits me so hard. I love that scene. And
it's like knowing your legacy continues kind of thing.
I just remember in the theater, like, we're watching and Felicia gets so mad because, you know, they're in the shop and he's doing that little YouTube video and he smashes Granny's watch. And he's like, that's so against his character. And I was like, but it's not.
It's not.
Because he's so disappointed that he hasn't found any paranormal activity because he's longing to be back in that life again.
Right.
Yeah.
And here it is. He's disappointed yet again that he hasn't gotten any paranormal activity. He's just, all right, get out of my way. I got to find something. Go.
The car is like reaffirmation.
Yeah. And you got to understand that I think that the video or the movie doesn't really capture that essence. They probably cut it in post, and they didn't really take a moment to really reflect on that moment, and so we didn't really get the vibe. But if you take a moment to think about the character, you really get that feeling of what Ray's going through. And in that one scene where he just watches Ecto go by, you really feel it.
Well,
and then, of course, when he talks to Winston too about the golden years, after Winston chews him out about the scene in front of the library.
Yeah.
Oh man, and you just feel it. It just gut wrenching feeling. Can
I talk about that library scene real quick? Because that scene pisses me off so much.
Why? It's like one of the best callbacks.
No. The library itself is fine. It's the aftermath. The cops show up right when the lion, a giant, probably 2-ton stone lion, is jumping at a small child, and she defends herself, yes, with a nuclear-powered gun that she's not legally allowed to have, but she defends herself, gets arrested, and reprimanded. I'm like, wait, huh? That thing would have killed her. Are y'all fucking serious? Granted, I know it's their fault. It happened in the first place. But cops saw this and immediately like dropped the weapon. And it's like, bro, what?
Right.
Yeah, I think that was like a continuity thing. I think it was supposed to be the cops show up after the statue was busted up.
And that would have been fine. I would have been fine with that. But they showed up right when it was pouncing. They saw that shit in midair.
Yeah, that was the thing. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, sorry.
But I think it was supposed to have been like, hey, they showed up just after the carnage ensued, right?
Dude, I was mad about that right up until the credit roll. Like, I was still fuming. I'm like, man, I'd be pissed.
I know, right?
I'm glad she fucking said whatever she said to the cops.
Yeah, they're yelling at some 14-year-old girl. And it's like, did you not just see what freaking happened?
Dude.
A damn statue crashed on the
easy way, the hard way. I love that cut. that was my favorite running gag though. Whenever like Phoebe's posed with a moral dilemma and then it cuts and she obviously made the bad choice.
Yeah.
Like by speaking her mind, and I was just like, God, I love how they cut that. That feels so funny.
Well, there were quite a few. Unfortunately, I can't remember anything specifically, but there were moments, not big moments. Maybe that's why I can't remember them, but where I was like, man, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like either continuity issues or like things that somebody said that I was like, nah, but that's not how it went down. Or but Frank,
it felt like they had made out like most of the key points of the movie and tried to fill in from there.
Right.
It's like,
Frank, going back to your point with Ecto driving by and Ray really longing for the golden years. I think that I felt that as well in that scene and was like, oh man, like I kind of would expect this to happen in this case, because Frozen Empire and Afterlife have both been set up to be like, this is the new generation of Ghostbusters. Like this is what you guys have planted and started, and this is your legacy. This is how it's expanding and getting bigger than you are. And I really do think it drove that point home for me when Ray was deciding to kind of go beyond Phoebe's grounding per se, and going to the library and meeting up with Patton Oswalt's character. That was him kind of scratching that itch.
Also, there's no way in fuck Patton Oswalt never saw the Gray Lady. Like, he just acted like Ghost didn't exist, like, while he was down there talking to them. And I'm like, bitch, you were 10 feet away from that ghost at any given time. The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I did enjoy that callback with Ray.
Right.
I kind of wish that they dropped some line that's like, every now and then I try to get her, and it just,
Right, I do wish, well, because, if you guys remember the old Ghostbusters game where you played the Rookie, that game was based on an unreleased or unmade third script for a Ghostbusters movie. And they have this huge part of the game where they go into how the Gray Lady was Ray and Egon's first failure. Like, they ran away from it, they never went back, and it like just hung like a dark cloud over them over those years. So going back to the library for the first time in years and facing down with the Gray Lady was like this huge character development moment for them. And it led to something, just this wild fucking shit about a collector dude that was married to her and killed her and all this other crazy shit. But it's like, I really wish they had done that more, like kind of touched on that a little bit. Like, other than just Ray being like, oh, hey, they know me here. And then he just fucking walks through like it's nothing.
Well,
it was okay.
What would you say is your like favorite part about Frozen Empire, Paul?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I really like the beginning.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it?
Let me elaborate. The opening moments of the movie take place like, what was it? It had to have been early 1900s, right?
Yeah.
And they go to a fire department out of the Ghostbusters firehouse. They leave out of there. They go to an adventurers club because there's an emergency. Doors frozen over. This scene, that shit was filmed so goddamn well. It set this tone that just, you knew they wouldn't carry through the whole movie because it is a comedy. You know what to expect from it, but it set this just fucking chilling, like, because it was frozen, chilling tone for the movie. Like, a dude's severed hand was still cranking like the audio wheel, and then it just, man, you can't even describe that shit. It was so good. You just go watch the opening moments of that movie. It's so fucking good.
It is.
It almost felt like that could have been the opening for Ghostbusters 3, like back in the 80s, early 90s, if they wanted to. Because it set up a villain that didn't pay off. And it makes you expect so much more out of something that didn't really happen that well. Like,
gotcha.
I honestly wish they had not captured Garaka at the end.
You're gonna touch on the part that I did not like the most.
I wish he had gotten away and had continued to be like a behind the scenes force for future movies or TV or projects or something. Because the way they set him up in those opening moments is just so good that it really lets you down by the end. Because they barely spend any time on him once he finally gets on screen, and then it's like it's over, and it's like, oh, what the fuck? Why? And I know what happened. Like, if you watch the movie, break it down, I personally feel this too, and I know some reviewers have been talking about it, but it is an over-bloated cast. Like, there are so many different characters to keep track of, and they try to spend time with everybody, especially when the movie should have probably just been about Ray and Phoebe, especially with what Frank was talking about, Ray wanting to relive the golden years, and Phoebe's just coming into her own and realizing the limitations of her age in the world that's like, hey, you know, you're not allowed to be this smart at your age. Go live your life, kind of thing. Like, and I know a lot of people with, you know, higher functioning brain capacity, you know, they feel that way. They feel shunned by their age. Like, oh, I can't have a say in the world because I'm, you know, 16 or whatever.
We all felt that way, I'm sure.
Yeah. But like, Phoebe's actually smart and she actually saved the world. And it's like, fuck, you know, like she could discover life on Mars at the rate she's going. So there's so many good little, like, you could break down Phoebe's character in so many different ways, like with that kind of line of thinking too, like wanting to live up to the legacy of Egon and, you know, not being heard, being like a voice that's unheard in this fucking sea of voices. You like the way she was manipulated and this, that, and the other, which didn't even feel like they spent enough time. That's why I say it feels like they jumped around too much, because the manipulation thing with the ghost girl, it felt like they only met one time, really. And it's like, man, she got really easily manipulated by somebody she just met. And I'm like, what is this, a Disney movie?
She's a young kid, man. You know?
Yeah, I know. But like, there should have been more focus on Ray's depression and like wanting to relive those golden years and like be reaffirmed in his beliefs and everything, as well as just focusing more on Phoebe and that just line. But then I get why they had to focus on other characters. They're there. You have to do something with them. Right. They spent way too much time, I feel like, at the Jurassic Park ass bullshit at the aquarium. And like, as soon as they got to the aquarium lockup, I'm like, oh, it's Jurassic Park. They're going to be like, yep, everything's great. Everything's locked down. It's perfect. And then your power's going to go the fuck out. And then everything's going to escape. And sure as shit, that's what happens.
That was actually one of the things that I was wondering. Like, you mean to tell me that this collection of super, brilliant people didn't think to have a better generator?
Yeah, like a better backup to your backup generator or something.
It was like, it felt like forever before it kicked in, but like the power at the hospital goes out fairly frequently, and that backup generator kicks on within like a millisecond. Yeah, like, it's crazy.
I could chalk that up for like, they're in an abandoned aquarium and it's New York, so the power grid's probably spotty at best.
That's even more of a reason to have a better generator.
Yeah, they could have like a hydroelectric fucking setup.
Yeah, just something, or I don't know, maybe use one of the nuclear accelerators that they have on their back.
Well, let's argue with this for just a second here. You got to remember what it was they were attempting to do. They were trying to expand their storage. That super icy freaking cold thing that just basically backflowed all that energy. So all that energy just kicked back onto whatever generators might have been hooked up. They could have really
they did touch on early
systems,
too, because it fried the PKE meter immediately.
Yeah, that's true. So it probably just created all kinds of chaos on whatever grid they had, and that could have explained it. So.
And if the grid was built with the same technology that the PKE meters were built with, then it probably fried the fuck out of everything.
So the fact that it even came back on was impressive, in my opinion.
I really wanted to see more of that shadow monster, though. And they did not spend enough time on him. Pukey and the shadow monster, I felt got left out by the wayside, and that really upset me. I'm like, you could have just not done Slimer. I get it's Ghostbusters, and you can't not do Slimer.
I think they kind of shoehorned Slimer in because he wasn't in the old one, and there was a lot of people kind of disappointed with that, myself included.
I was hoping that we would have gotten some kind of nod with Ray and Venkman and Slimer. I was hoping that Ray would have said,
Slimer. For Trevor to be the new Slimer guy. It's just like,
I was hoping that Ray would have said Spud, or Venkman would have said Slimer, just to do a nod to the cartoon version in some way, shape, or form, because they're the only two that actually acknowledged Slimer in the original movie without
and Slimer was a huge part of the cartoon.
And those are the only two words they ever used in relation to Slimer was slime.
Oh, besides Ray calls him, I forget what the technical term, but he actually classifies him when they catch him in the hotel in the very first movie.
I am super, super, super disappointed. I guess not disappointed. I can't say let down or disappointed because I can't imagine what that man's going through. But like any lack of Easter egg connected to Rick Moranis' character.
Yeah, I know.
And like him even not just showing up just for like 1 second or, I get like why. But if Ryan Reynolds can get him on a fucking phone commercial, I don't understand why he can't come back for a cameo for Ghostbusters. Like everybody was expecting it too. They were like, is Rick Moranis coming back? Is this going to be his entrance back to acting? And it's like, I doubt it, man. He quit for very good reasons, and I understand that. But
came back.
He left acting for family.
To take care of his wife, right?
It was big to do because his wife was sick or something along those lines.
I just wish we had gotten a view of like a locker with his name on it or something, like some kind of callback, just to be like, that's nice.
A photo on the wall or something.
Or in an after credit scene of like the mini puffs breaking into his apartment or some shit. Like
did we get any reference or anything about Dana Barrett? Or
that was going to be the next question I had. I didn't catch anything. I didn't catch Bill.
They name dropped her in Afterlife though.
Well, yeah, but that's because that was like more of a direct, like, oh, we've done this before. People turned into dogs, gatekeeper.
Yeah.
But
I mean, here we were.
Well, Bill Murray was only on camera twice, so they didn't really have much time for him to explain what he's been up to. So
true.
Like they're not exploring his family life, I guess, but another big disappointment for me is I miss when movies were just iconic. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you a single quote from Frozen Empire. But there are so many quotable moments from the original Ghostbusters movies. And it just feels like I just sat there and I watched this movie, and then by the end of it, I'm like, man, I don't remember shit happened. Like, it felt like it bop, 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 end. Whereas you go back to like Ghostbusters 1 or 2, you had these very specific set pieces, these moments that took time, like these scenes that took their time with it, like the whole Slimer Hotel thing, the sewer, like breaking into the sewer scene in Ghostbusters 2, the courtroom scene from Ghostbusters 2. I like Ghostbusters 2. I'm sorry.
Well,
but I don't know.
The rooftop scene from the original ones, like there are some small scenes, like Frank was saying, like Ray looks at the car going by and smiles, that like really are like, oh, that's awesome. Very touching little scenes. But it did not feel like they spent enough time in any one place throughout the entirety of that movie, or with the characters, like I said before. And there was nothing that was like as iconic as any of the fucking quotes from the put one in a hat and fucking.
I'm going to argue with you on that one, Paul, because it's very easy to say that it's not iconic, but how many times did you watch Ghostbusters before you can say it was iconic and you were quoting Ghostbusters? Because the first time you watched Ghostbusters,
the
first time that you watched Ghostbusters, though, could you have quoted a line from Ghostbusters? You got to think of it that way.
Probably.
Because
you just knew before you watched it. You just like,
I think, there's scenes of this movie that I really enjoyed. There's lines that Paul Rudd delivered, like when he was standing outside of Phoebe's door.
Yeah.
Me as a stepdad, I related a lot to Paul Rudd's character.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that because I instantly thought of you, Frank, when Phoebe calls him dad.
Oh, yeah.
And when you said that you were going to go watch the movie, I was like, I wonder if that scene's gonna get him, gonna hit just a little bit close to home with you. Paul, getting back to your.
That's what I'm saying, though. There are a lot of scenes that, like that opening scene, very, very cool. The scene with Ray, very cool. The scene with Gooberson at the door, it's very sweet, touching. But like the villain didn't feel the whole shit with the firekeeper.
I thought that had some potential though. But I also love
lore-wise, it has a lot of potential. That character, I hate that actor, so he annoys the shit out of me. And his performance was
you gotta think his character was a supporting character to the ghost.
Yeah, I know. But then again, they didn't spend enough time with Garaka to really flesh any of that out either.
Right.
So. Like, if he was introduced as a firekeeper just starting in this movie and like, oh, we actually failed in capturing Garaka, but we chased him off for now. And then they came back and revisited this character later. And like, now he's trained and we can take the fight to Garaka. And they made it this huge, like, fucking Thanos fight thing, like, where it felt like the stakes were way higher. Then, yeah. But to me, Garaka felt not great. And they beat him so fucking easy.
Yeah, we're gonna get into some points that I was wanting to get to. I just want to point out that I asked you your favorite parts of the movie. I thought, did I ask for your?
I said the first scene, and that was it. And then I immediately started breaking down why I hated everything else.
All over it.
Systematically destroying. But to me, there was no quotes like there's no moments like where fucking Peter like gets pissed at Ray for creating the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, or like
two in the
box, ready to go. We be fast, they be slow. Like there's nothing. You know what I mean? There's no big like new songs from fucking Stevie Ray or whoever the fuck.
Stevie Ray. All right.
I don't know who did
Ray Parker Jr. But okay.
Thank you, Ray Parker Jr.
Honestly, I just think that that's something that you have to look at from the perspective of somebody who this might be their introduction to Ghostbusters as well. And it's a different style of movie to a degree. They are establishing a lot and they're also kind of exiting with
I think one-liners were just a big thing of the 80s that I just really hooked on to. And it's like you could walk out of any movie in the 80s and quote scenes from. That's why there's so many of them on t-shirts.
We still do,
Arnold Schwarzenegger especially, but it feels like a lot of movies lately, and not just Ghostbusters, it feels like a lot of them are like, okay, that was a movie, and you walk out and you immediately forget most of it, if not just like key little scenes, but you can't really quote many of them. It's not like back in the day when Arnold Schwarzenegger's like, don't mess with my friend, he's dead tired. Like after he killed that dude in the airplane.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Get to the chopper.
I'll get to the chop.
But like everybody after the first Ghostbusters movie was probably walking out talking, like quoting, "I'm the keymaster, you the gatekeeper." You know what I mean? Like,
no doubt. Even to this very day, I've said it before. Whenever Aaron and I are staying at a hotel, when I come off of the elevator and step out into the hallway, especially if it's a long hallway, I'm immediately like, he's looking right at me, Ray. I think he can hear you, Ray.
I always think of the damn cigarette hanging off of Ray's lip.
It's here, Ray. Jesus. It's looking at me. That's what I'm saying, though. But it didn't feel, and I get that that's the style of comedy the original ones went with. They had a very like one-liner kind of way of about them, but it just I missed that. I guess for like the new ones, I wish they had more like that. More scenes like that where I'm like, I could walk out of there and say that, you know, any fucking lines that would stick with me, but I can't think of anything.
Even kind of going back to that, even to this day, whenever I say, whoa, it's always like, it reminds me of Venkman in the first scenes in the library when he's down, he's collecting the sample from the Dewey Decimal System, like the drawer, and it's got snot, like ectoplasm everywhere, and there's a little, like some of it kind of like strings out, and he starts flanking. He's whoa, little stuff like that. I get what you're saying as far as quotable lines. And let's be fair, the biggest quote from that movie is "tall, dark, and horny," and it's from fucking Bill Murray. So it's just like, okay, well, it was a pretty good line,
of the other cast please get?
It made me chuckle. But I mean, that's also what he's known for. Right? Yeah, I would venture to say the majority of the one-liners that most people remembered from the other movies were from him, or maybe Ray.
I did really, 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 really like the random citizen at the end of the movie that called the mayor dickless.
Yes.
In the crowd. It was just some random dude off to the left, and he's like, "Come on, dickless," and I'm like, "No fucking way."
That was good. That was really good.
That's the best.
My favorite part of the movie were the little callbacks, oh, there's a piece of equipment in the background that's from when they were getting kicked out of the university in the first scenes, the first act of the first movie. Or like the way they introduced Venkman in this movie, he's sitting down and going through like the ink blots. And it's just very like, I remember looking at Aaron and going like, I hope he's like going through electroshock therapy or doing the little, where he just shocks the crap out of somebody because they got it wrong when they guessed the wrong card or wrong image on the card. Like that shit was the absolute best for me. Overall, I enjoyed the movie.
I did like the Venkman interrogation, like the psychoanalysis scene with what's his name, the firekeeper dude.
Yeah.
I thought that was like the questions were really fun. Once again, it's Bill Murray, so I expected it. Like you're about to eat a small child. Do you prefer skin on or skinless?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, that's the thing that I was talking about. Because like in the back, it has that. I don't know what it is. It's like that orange electronic device on a rolling stool. Like they don't use it in the movie at all. They don't even use it in the original movie. About. It's just something that one of the maintenance people are rolling out of the lab with when they're getting kicked out of the university. But it's like just little stuff like that means absolutely nothing to anybody who's kind of new to the franchise. But to me, I was like, oh, it's that thing. This is cool. This is tying everything into the universe. It's adding legitimacy to these new Ghostbusters.
I mean, I know you probably loved all the like cameos too, like
like the librarian,
Dick Peck, and the librarian, and all that. Like I thought I was like, yay, those guys are still alive somehow. And like I mean, it was nice little callbacks. Like what was that guy? I'm trying to think of the fire. Was it Nadeem? Was that the guy's name? The firekeeper dude?
I believe so.
I'm trying to remember. Like he did have some line. I have to be a little fair. There were some funny lines that like kind of stick back to me from him.
Yeah, Nadeem.
Like, sometimes he's really funny. Other times I cannot stand him in movies because he always plays a very similar type of character.
He
like
does. Yeah.
A douchebag, kind of fucking out for himself kind of guy. Because he did that in Obi-Wan, too, where he was the fake Jedi.
Oh, that's right. He did.
Yeah.
He did.
But there was like that. Could you all please stop making sex jokes about my recently deceased grandmother?
Yeah.
Like, stuff like
good.
that. Kind of, yeah.
See, look at that. You were able to recall a line.
I said I had to be fair. I've been like sitting here thinking about it, like just intently. But I mean, other than that, I don't think it didn't feel like I got to stick around with parts of the movie long enough to really enjoy them. That's why I really like the opening scene, because it didn't feel rushed. It felt like that was like it took its time.
Yeah, they didn't sit really long with anything. They didn't.
Yeah. And they stole really a plot line from the new DuckTales cartoon.
Okay.
I'm not even kidding. So the ghost girl that manipulates Phoebe. It's 1-to-1 a plot line from the new DuckTales cartoon where what's the little girl duck's name? I can't remember her name. I can remember DuckTales, but I can't. Webby? Is that her name?
Webby, yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, so she is manipulated by Magica's niece, who's like a punk teenage girl that's just a little older than Webby, that kind of just has this like flippant fuck the world attitude and is secretly being manipulated in the shadows by a voice in her head of her dead aunt. And I'm like, as soon as it shows the scene of the fire girl walking down the street and talking to Garaka, it's like, why her? I'm like, right. That scene is straight from DuckTales, because that girl in DuckTales said the same fucking thing. Does it have to be her?
It's also hardly the first time that type of story plot
I couldn't not
was
think
made
about DuckTales like the whole time.
I liked Melody. I liked her.
Melody, thank you.
I thought she was a break from the typical ghost that you see in Ghostbusters.
But I like the goofy foam ghosts, like the ones that are made to look goofy. That's my favorite part.
Shitting all over the ones that were like all
no, the Scooby-Doo CGI ones are shit because they're CGI people ghosts, whereas the ones in the original Ghostbusters were cut out of foam and were puppets,
like puppets. Yeah.
Well,
and I do too, but this just adds a little bit of what's the word? Another layer, like another dimension to the ghost.
Well, we see that in Afterlife with Egon's ghost.
Yeah.
Like, his ghost was very normal. And the Gray Lady's ghost is very normal until she goes rage mode, and then she turns into a puppet. So, But it's like the Solari brothers were very goofy.
She gave them a fair warning, too. She said shush.
Shush. No, she didn't give a... He was quiet after he saw her, and then she immediately went, rah!
Well, no, she did that after they came around the corner, and they're like, I got a plan. Get her! And then they start running after her and yelling. And
in the old one. I thought you were talking about the new one. I was like, she said shh, but then she immediately went fucking monster mode on.
That's true. That's true. But no, I liked Melody. I hope they find a way to kind of like reuse her, reintroduce her in the
she never got captured, so they probably will.
No, Melody, she went on.
Oh, she moved on. That's right.
Yeah, she moved on.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Because she
I forgot.
Found a way to contribute.
Which I think that's nice. I hope that's the one part, not all the part, because I still love the busting ghost things, but I wonder if this is going to lead... Good. Yeah, because it makes you feel good. Who are you going to call?
I'm sorry, I do love Paul Rudd in that movie.
Yeah, Paul Rudd's
he's the best.
I love Paul Rudd. I hope that one side of it becomes, how do we help the ghosts move on, rather than just putting them in ghost prison.
Right.
Like, I still want to see you put bad ghosts in ghost prison.
Adding some character to it. It's not just ghost bad.
Yeah. Well, most of the ghosts are pieces of shit. Like, they but like we now see like there's a deeper side to it, and maybe some part like they'll branch off and have a division of the Ghostbusters that helps spirits move on rather than just
that would be dope,
busting them.
I feel like that honestly would really play into Dan Aykroyd's character in Ray.
Yeah,
and how
it's like the therapist at a prison. It's like, we're trying to help you be a better person, but you got to stop burning down buildings.
So it's also the EPA approach too, you know, because they're talking about, you know, landfills and you know, their containment system was on the verge of overflowing, and they had to basically make another landfill at the aquarium. So
I honestly would have loved that for an after credit scene where it's like our storage issue problem can be solved if we help spirits move on rather than just bust them. You know what I mean? Like, they wasted their after credit scene, I feel like. Granted, we should stop all expecting after credit scenes in every movie. Thanks, Marvel. But at the same time, the fact that I knew there was one and then it was just nothing, I was like, come on.
What? Didn't I tell you about it?
Was there another one after the damn?
No, it was
just the one with the truck driver.
To be fair, it could be something. It could be that this entire time, the mini puffs that nobody knows why they keep following everybody around are gathering more mini puffs to make another giant Stay Puft marshmallow god.
That would be cool.
Who the fuck knows?
Well,
that's why they stole a Stay Puft truck.
They're gonna bail out Gozer.
Yeah. It's out of the farm trap that they put in, which was a really fucking cool scene. See, that shit was cool as fuck.
It was.
That was. I mean, I don't know.
So getting to the thing that honestly I felt was the biggest miss, and you kind of touched on it, was the main enemy, like the whole focus of the movie, the whole like big baddie, you know, in Caracas. I thought he was a cool character. I thought he was a cool bad guy.
I thought the way they built him up was really interesting, and his visuals were neat, and his powers were kind of cool, and like how he resisted the proton wand. Like, I was like, okay, all right. Like,
I thought everything about. I thought the imagery of him. I thought the voice that was behind Garaka. I said Caracas earlier, but whatever. I just thought it was really, really cool, and I felt the final fight, even if that was going to be the end of it, which we all know is not, because he's just kind of like in this broken ass containment center or containment unit. I just felt like the fight itself was too short and not as grand as it should have been. I mean, everything was just in the firehouse.
Well, so what really pissed me off was when they were explaining his history. It's like they took his horns, which were his source of power.
Right.
And that motherfucker broke out and froze like he was powerful without his horns.
But then didn't he?
Granted, after he got the horns, he froze the entire like fucking bay or whatever. But like, I mean,
it didn't say he was powerless.
Yeah,
before he got his horns,
but they were able to trap him without his horns too.
Right.
So I don't know. It feels like they rushed through him at the end. Yeah. They built him up like so heavily, and then they were like, bah, 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 gone.
It wouldn't surprise me if like the original like director's cut was like 30 to 45 minutes longer, and they were like, "You've got to cut this down, dude."
Yeah,
there's just so much stuff. There's too many one-liners.
Or they tricked us in a trailer. Because Lucky was supposed to be frozen over completely. They show her getting frozen in the trailer, like up to her eyeballs in the trailer.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. And I was like, huh. That's
it 100% got edited out. They're going to do a director's cut. They have to.
Like, I mean, I kind of thought it would have been neat if Lucky died. And you were like, oh, shit. Like, the stakes actually, like, nobody, spoiler cast, nobody died. But, you know, it's a Ghostbusters movie. Stakes aren't super high to begin with.
True.
You don't expect anyone to die going into a Ghostbusters movie. But, That's why I felt like the tone set at the very beginning of the movie felt so off when you actually watch the rest of the movie, because like them dudes was dead as fuck.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah.
And it was rough. Like the fire dude's hand getting frozen to the door, and the man.
It was really cool. I was not expecting that opening. I was from that point on, I really was invested. It's like, all right, this is starting off really, really well.
I do really, 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 really love the lore implication that anytime ghosts or demonic forces have risen up in the world in this universe, another force of humans has risen up against them, a la the Ghostbusters or the Fire Keepers, and they've employed similar tactics, wielding fire in different ways to trap ghosts or demons. I thought that was really neat. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, you know, the history repeats itself, and the Ghostbusters are just a new type of Fire Keeper. They're just keeping proton beams and nuclear fire.
Yeah.
Like, which was cool because the Firekeeper dude like redirected the proton wand later in the movie, and I was like, oh, hey, that's cool. That's interesting.
One of the things that I don't quite know how I feel about is Phoebe's ability to adjust the proton pack in the moment where Garaka is just kind of like,
when she melts down the bronze.
Yeah, like how, like the whole entire time she's melting this metal down and incorporating it into the proton pack is the entire time they're all downstairs and kind of going back and forth with Garaka. So I feel like there is something that is very, like, it just felt off.
So I can tell you right now, one, it didn't feel stressful enough. Like, it didn't feel like they were getting down to the wire and losing the fight while she was preparing. That's one side of it. The other side of it is it felt like it wasn't earned because they didn't actually focus on that, like her knowledge of that stuff.
Right.
And like her being around that enough to think that, oh, maybe I can do that. Now, they did hide the proton pack later in the movie, so like she had to use the older model proton pack, so that was like part of it. So she,
that's because the EPA came in and stole everything and all that shit. Yeah,
so
dickless.
That's
and
one
whatnot.
side of it, but it did feel kind of unearned. There wasn't enough like stakes or stress pressed down in the moment. The VR game actually fixed that, which I thought was really funny. They made that final battle with Garaka so much more stressful.
Well, you're actually playing it too, so...
Yeah, well, there's that. But it's like, you're on the roof of the firehouse, you've collected like frozen ectoplasm samples from San Francisco, and now you've got to use it to readjust the systems in the firehouse to be able to actually use the containment unit as a trap. And the whole time, like, Phoebe's trying to help, do her shit downstairs. Everybody's trying to hold Garaka off downstairs. And, like, you're setting this shit up on the roof, and he just floats his ass up there and starts whipping the shit out of you. Yeah. And it's like, you got to get these things here, 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 and here. And he's going to keep trying to stop you the whole time. And it felt like, and granted, it's a video game. It's supposed to feel like a boss fight. But, like, that level of stress and like, oh shit, this guy is fucking powerful. Like, you didn't get that in the movie. Granted, you get to see him freeze over New York. Ha ha ha. Well, I mean, whoop-de-doo. I saw a lady still grabbing a fucking Starbucks coffee. Like, nobody cared. You know what I mean? Like, New Yorkers are completely unfazed at that point. Because I was like, all of New York is frozen over and some of these cars are off the street. That bitch has a brand new coffee in her hand and she's just walking casually across the street. No fucking way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's so fucking... I thought it was silly, but at the same time, it just felt like nobody died. So...
that we know of, at least. Nobody.
Somebody should have been impaled in the ocean. Like, come on.
Or in the beach. Yeah.
Yeah. Should have seen a New Jersey shark or something come up out of the water and just...
Well, Frank, is there anything else you want to add to the conversation about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire?
Not particularly. I mean, overall, I think it was a really solid continuation of the franchise. I disagree with them. What Paul was saying earlier about spreading them out a little too far with the characters. It's kind of them staging it to spread the franchise out a little bit more. I felt like they did balance it out pretty well time wise between characters. Some probably a little bit focused, a little too focused on other characters more than others. But the time in the aquarium, I thought that was pretty well spent because honestly, I thought they were going to destroy the firehouse and relocate to the aquarium at one point. So I thought that would have been kind of a cool transition. I thought the aquarium was really cool looking too. It was really neat environment.
I love the aesthetics of it.
Those blue tiles were sick, man.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought it was a very well-written movie. It still made me miss Ivan Reitman and Harold Ramis. I do believe that they would have been really proud of it.
Yeah.
So,
but to me, it was very much a sequel.
Oh yeah,
it was 100% a follow-up. Like, you could not watch that movie without having watched Afterlife. And that was another reason I was like, Tyler probably would have not liked it. It probably shouldn't be here for it. Because I think maybe that's another issue I might have had with it, is it didn't feel standalone-ish enough. You know what I mean?
I think you could come into it from the outside and watch it. You could definitely watch it for the first time.
Yeah.
But you would have questions, no doubt.
You'd be like, who the fuck are all these people?
And that might actually be on purpose too. Like, well, let's get them to go back and watch Afterlife too.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say this though, before I forget the thought. The first chess scene, when she sets up the chess pieces in the park and she sees the chess pieces suddenly start moving.
Thought it was ego.
Who felt like, oh, I'm playing with Grandpa? And then she suddenly realizes that it wasn't Egon.
Yeah,
she just looks so distraught and disappointed. And honestly, I was kind of hoping too. And then I realized, oh, wait a second, he can't come back. But I still wanted it to be him too.
Yeah.
It upset me so much.
Right?
I even reached over. I was like, he's playing with Egon, or she's playing with Egon. And I'm like, wait, no, that can't be right.
Yeah, right.
Because like the joy on her face, I felt that. I'm like, oh my God. That's so that girl's a good actress. I fucking love her.
Yeah.
Whatever.
McKenna Grace. Yeah, she is. I really liked the thing that I thought that really stood out more to me as well is the fact that each character seemed to have their own thing going on, like they did in the previous movies, but they were all like in a group together, still doing the same thing, like accomplishing the same thing.
Trevor wasn't doing shit. Trevor kept getting distracted by mold on the ceiling
and the trash pile in the attic.
Going up there and fucking, and he didn't even try to clean up the trash pile after Slimer left the first time. I'm like, you lazy piece of shit.
I mean, I probably wouldn't have either if Slimer came just like popping out of the thing. Yeah, and exactly. He's a teenager. Like, what do you expect?
I know, but like he made that like a personal vendetta, and I'm like, go do something about it.
But I just thought that it was great that, you know, Lucky was doing her thing in the aquarium. Podcast was podcasting, basically. You're doing like videoing with Ray.
That reminded me. That shit. What the hell happened? Like, it felt like they shoehorned in the possession of Phoebe at the end, because the whole Garaka needs a human to recite the fucking whatever.
Right.
But obviously recording sufficed because it happened at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
So, what the fuck? Why didn't they cash in on the whole fact that Podcast was recording the recording in the library?
Well, they kind of
That's like a Chekhov gun situation. Like they show podcast recording the recording in the library, right? And it's like, oh, so later they're going to use podcasts. Like, oh, the recording's going to break, and they'll just use podcast, and podcast will be the reason Garaka escaped. Yeah. And but because they didn't,
but that was during the
establish
whole,
the rule
library
that
thing.
A human has to recite it though until the very end. That whole Garaka needs a human to recite. It's like, but does he? You just kind of threw that in there last minute. I didn't like if I was expecting podcast to be the reason, because he got zero anything else going on in the movie with his fucking hand-drawn name tag on his jumpsuit and his fucking.
He did have other things going on in the movie. He started out with the show.
I know he started out with Ray, but then like he was just kind of in the background, podcasting
kind of viral and whatnot. Yeah. And plus, those types of people. Like he's always carrying like the microphone and shit and recording people, but it implies to me that he likes being behind the scene. It felt like they had two different routes they wanted to take there. So the whole like Phoebe like astral projecting essentially just felt weird to me after seeing podcast record the whole thing. Like, what was the point of recording? Unless they bring it up later, but I doubt they will. Yeah, I am curious as to what happens in the next one, because Garaka's still there. He's still in this cracked out
containment unit. And podcast still has the recording of that.
Maybe that's going to be.
Maybe they'll bring it up in the sequel.
Oh, he forgets about the recording and then plays it, and it just happens to be in the right place.
Stay Puffs fucking play it.
Yeah,
the mini
there
puffs.
You go.
I'm down with that.
I thought it was really funny at the beginning though, with Ray's little weird YouTube show. When Podcast goes to stand next to him, I noticed immediately Podcast had a mallet. And I reached over and nudged Felicity. I was like, Podcast has a mallet. And she looked and she was like, oh no. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of good things about the movie. I liked Afterlife better though.
I think I did as well overall, but I mean they're still very good movies.
Yeah. The whole thing with the music too though, like McKenna Grace, she did her own song at the end of the last Ghostbusters movie, and there was like no new music for this one. It kind of upset me a little bit.
I would imagine. I was like, I wonder if it
Ghostbusters and music kind of go hand in hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody could be Prince.
Yeah. Well, I just, I don't know. I want to say I'm disappointed at the movie, but I've never been more excited to go to the movies in a while.
Right.
At the same time, like, it's very rare these days that I get excited to go to see a movie. So
yeah.
I'll give that much, credit where credit's due kind of thing, because movies are just so fucking boring to me now. It's like predictable gibberish with no lasting fucking meaning or effect. And yeah.
All right. Well, there's two things that I wanted to do. Two left things. Two topics. Not even really topics. Two things I just wanted to do.
What kind of ghost would you bust if you could bust ghosts?
Yeah, exactly. No. I do want to get like an overall kind of like how you feel, like rating sort of thing. But first, how many of these movies do you think we'll have before it's just all new people? Or is it just going to stop eventually with a collaboration of the old and new? Like, are they actually? Do you think they're actually transitioning away from Egon, Ray, and Winston?
They opened up a whole new studio just for Ghostbusters media. Like Ghost Corps is a new what is it? Who owns it? Is it Comcast or Universal or whoever?
I think it'd be Sony, right?
Yeah. It is Sony. Sony owns it. It's a production company of Sony or some shit like that. But it's Ghost Corps is its own thing. So they have the fact that they funded an entire studio just for Ghostbusters media the games, books, comics, movies, TV shows, that shit's gonna happen, and it's gonna we're gonna get flooded with Ghostbusters.
I get that, but I just mean like movie wise, like I'm not really focusing like ancillary media, but
I think they'll do one more with the Golden Age era, and it'll probably be called Ghostbusters Legacy.
One more.
Yeah, they'll do one more
movie with the original members. They might have like cameos with Janine or Lewis.
Like if they make it to the next movie, like age wise,
right?
They'll do at least one more, and it'll probably be called Ghostbusters Legacy. And it'll just be, that'll be the end of it. And maybe Winston, if he's still if the actor's still alive over the years, he'll pop in and be like, "Hey, how you doing down there? All right, good. Keep making me money."
Yeah. I have no doubt Winston's going to be around. The dude's like, well, he is like what, 72 or something like that.
You know, everybody's getting up there in age. After that, I feel like it would be better for them to focus on, like long form TV show, like hour-long episode TV show kind of format.
Oh, like very Mandalorian-esque.
Yeah, because that's the problem with the movie, right? Like they didn't spend enough time here, there, and like Garaka didn't feel fleshed out. So to flesh out a villain across a TV show rather than in a 2-hour movie, now you've got several hours to flesh them out and do something with them. I feel like that's probably where it's heading, especially since most things have turned into that. It's like Marvel's been doing it, Star Wars, Disney. You've got like Amazon with all their bullshit, and like HBO. You've got what was it, The Last of Us?
At the same time that they are talking about how there's too many streaming services, but that's a different.
I'm not talking about just streaming. I'm just talking about the way hour-long TV serials on popular franchises have been going as of late. How popular they are. That I can 100% see Ghostbusters doing that.
It's not 100% guaranteed that it's going to be good though.
I didn't say it'd be good. I just said it was going to happen.
Oh, that's fair.
It's just going to be there. And I would love them to bring in like old school Ghostbuster like cartoon villains, like do Sam Hine and fucking Sandman and the Grundle and shit like that. So.
Frank's mutant dog has been let loose. Frank, what do you think? You think also one movie before they really like lean into the kids?
Yeah, I think you will be lucky to have one more movie with the rock star cast like Dan Aykroyd and Bill, and
I doubt Bill's going to be in a third one.
Yeah, at most one movie, and I think you'll still see maybe Winston in like brief cameos outside of one movie, but just
he's 78,
because he's Mr. Moneybags, right?
Yeah, he's the one funding the whole thing.
Maybe his son will take over once the actor gets too old, that kind of thing.
I'm sure they'll figure out a way to keep things running.
So it's funny you say that, though, because when I looked up Ernie Hudson just to see like how old he was, he does have Ernie Hudson Jr., his legit son, that is an actor and film producer. So that would be kind of cool.
Here's the plot of Winston Zeddemor's son taking over Ghost Corps.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of this. I'm going to shut it all down. No, you can't do that.
There you go. So in 2 Ghostbusters movies, 10 years from now, when they do that, you're going to be like, this one podcast, and he called
and then he'll get possessed by a monster or something, and then he'll have to save it and be like, oh, now I see the importance of the Ghost Corps and my father's legacy.
Yeah. Let me unshutter them. And
I think through some weird, crazy, miraculous foresight, Peck will become some high-up political official who will still attempt to shut down.
He's going to be the president of the U.S.
Become the president,
or the head of the FCC.
I don't think he'll be president.
Something.
I don't think he's got that much pull, but he'll probably be some congressman or some crap.
Well, he was already a head of a federal bureau within the EPA, but that might have been just for like the district of
I would
New York.
love
Maybe
for him to see him become president, but then like the Ghostbusters think something's wrong with him and he's being possessed the entire time, and it's like now Peck's the villain and he's trying to destroy America or something. I don't fucking know.
So they just call him Dickless the whole time.
Yeah,
I think he'll be on some cabinet that would
some
be
background thing where they don't have to ask a lot of a 90-year-old actor.
Yeah, but he kind of becomes this, background villain against Ghost Corps. That'd be pretty
some
neat.
Dr. Claw ass shit. Yeah. Next time, Busters.
So, he's kind of already there. I finally got you.
But then comes out, public opinion saves the day.
I mean, he's basically like a World War II vet grandfather coming out waving his cane at the kids for being on his yard. He's like, you damn Ghostbusters!
He's actually a little bit younger than Ernie Hudson. He's 76 right now.
God, he doesn't look it. He looks
William
like a
Atherton.
fucking mummy.
He did look old as shit in that movie.
It's not aged well.
Yeah, it's alcohol and drugs.
Probably.
So I'd say probably on a scale from 1 to 5, I'd give it a solid 4, honestly. Like I said, it has its problems, it has its issues, but I'm 100% a mark for Ghostbusters. I love anything and everything Ghostbusters. Ecto 1 will forever and always be, pretty much tied for me with the best fictional vehicles. It's just always gonna have a soft spot in my heart.
That shit's burning out. It's too old.
What'd you say, Paul?
They got to get an upgrade for that car. It's burning out.
Oh,
they got to go to take that shit to the auto shop or something. Like fucking.
Yeah.
Ernie's got all that goddamn money and he's still making them drive around in an old ass fucking 1940s hearse that barely works. I think that's
going to be the point where they officially move into the newer group and the legacy is gone, because
it'll probably be the van.
Dude,
they'll probably go van.
Ecto 1, dude, is a character by itself.
I know.
It is a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
Frank, what about you? 1 to 5.
I think his dog destroyed something.
No, that's possible too. All right. What about you? 1 to 5.
Dude, 3.5.
3.5. You know what? That's fun.
And it's just because of the pacing and the way they how quickly the villain gets dispatched. I just didn't care for it. Granted, I know Gozer gets dispatched kind of fucking easy in the original Ghostbusters. But the second Ghostbusters movie, they have to use the fucking Statue of Liberty to even get at Vigo. And there's stakes. True. Like he's stealing a baby's soul. It's like, fuck, you guys gotta hurry.
Is he still in the soul or is he just still in the body?
I don't know. I'm
pretty sure he's stealing the body.
He's got to suck out the soul to get into it, though, right? Like,
I mean, that's true. Because like the whole thing behind, what's his name? Janosch. He is telling Dana, it's like, you and me, we could be the mother and father of the ruler of the world. Doesn't that sound nice?
Yeah. That felt like there were stakes. And even Gozer, if it destroyed the fucking giant marshmallow man, like there was tension in that scene. Like you didn't know what it was coming around the corner at first. And then once it finally shows, you're like, holy shit, look at that big motherfucker.
But one of the best lines ever was what led up to
holy
that.
Fuck.
What did you think of Ray?
Yeah. Like I love that tension and that build up. And it just felt like you got a little bit of that with Garaka's like mysterious way about manipulating people and everything, but the fact that they like show their hand and immediately throw the cards away, like by the end, it's like, oh, okay.
I wonder if they might make it to where Garaka is actually working for someone. Like there's a bigger baddie coming around the corner.
Well, and I feel like the VR game kind of touched on that too a little bit. Like the villain of the VR game is the Ghost Lord, quote unquote. But it turns out it's just this fucker that was like torturing ghosts to learn how to control them. And then he killed himself basically. And now he's a Ghost Lord. But then it turned out that the one he was actually trying to get control of was Garaka. And that's the Ghost Lord he was waiting on. So I don't know. Maybe there will be more Ghost Lords. Maybe Garaka's not the only one. So,
maybe they'll actually almost be like was it Captain Planet? It's like Earth, Wind, Fire, Ice. That'd be good.
Looting and polluting is not the way. Here's what Captain Planet has to say.
Ted Turner comes around the corner.
Is yours.
Well, Frank, what about you? Now that you're back up. 1 to 5, what would you say?
On a scale of 5, man.
I gave it a 4. Paul gave it a 3.5.
See,
3.5 on the PKE.
I'd probably give it a 4.5 to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Because I'd give it a 9 out of 10. So yeah, 4.5.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I was gonna say before we kind of got sound barraged. Who is your favorite character in the Ghostbusters movies, the originals? And this
does everything, the whole universe, the entire universe?
We'll just say the original movies, the original franchise.
You know, it's going to be...
So the first 2 movies.
Well, 4.
Okay.
This is as Paul speeds up his typewriter a little bit, or warms up his typewriter.
I
like
just got a
reporter from the 20s. Headlines.
You could use that for a podcast segment. You know, my little typewriter. So I don't want to definitely use it for and now the news, and you've got the in the background.
The my favorite cast, my favorite character. At one point in time, it was Egon, and I still feel pretty strongly about that. I felt like he was the one that I could identify with the most. Like, he had his moments of being kind of funny, but he was always the one that was maybe a little too serious, a little too. And unfortunately, I kind of feel like that's me in some cases. But I really do think Ecto-1 is a character all by itself.
See, that was going to be my answer. Ecto-1 is definitely my favorite character.
I mean, even right now, just in this moment, in my room, there are 4 different depictions or figures or something of just Ecto-1. I love that car. I just do. I love that car.
I gotta say, Winston's my favorite character.
Yeah.
He's kind of like an unsung hero.
Yeah. Because he jumped into this because he needed to pay his bills, not because he believes in ghosts or anything. He's very, Christian oriented, and even faced with the adversity that life continues after death, that kind of thing. Like, he doesn't give up on himself or his beliefs and things like that. And he's just like, whatever, man. Shit's weird. I'm here to bust it. and then goes from this real rag to riches fucking character. Like, he has the most character development of any fucking character in the series. And now he owns the Ghostbusters. He joined last minute in the first movie to fight shit he doesn't believe in to pay his bills.
Yeah, I mean that absolutely makes sense. I mean, if you also ask what favorite scene, for me, it's the scene of Ray and Winston riding in Ecto-1 going across, I guess, the George Washington Bridge, and they're talking about the Book of Revelations.
I'm pretty sure it was Egon in that scene, wasn't it?
No, it was Ray.
It was Ray and Winston, yeah.
I thought it was Egon. But yes, I love that scene.
It's
yeah. It's such a weirdly real moment of that movie too.
Yeah.
It's just them in traffic. It's not nothing really is going on.
They're driving in the dead of night. They're patrolling and they're on the bridge. I guess it's the George Washington Bridge. But there's one thing about that scene though that has always bugged me. They have the lights on top of the car, but they're not going anywhere. They're not going on a call. They're just cruising. They're patrolling the city.
Cops do that shit.
But the lights are on.
To get through traffic, so there's nobody in their way. They don't turn the siren on. They just have the lights on.
It might have been just for cinematic effect, but
it could have been. Lighting looked good. But from the new movies, I do also have a secondary favorite character. I kind of love Lars.
Really?
I think it's because he's just so. Are you fucking stupid? Get away from me! Like that kind. Like
he definitely has those vibes.
He also has this like almost teddy bear, like secret teddy bear side where he's like, if you're good, I'll give you a tennis ball later to the possessor ghost. like it's his dog. And I'm just like, I think I'm kind of vibing with Lars here for a minute. And then he disappears after finding Pukey and just shows up covered in slime. And it's just like, I think I'm starting to like Lars.
He kind of reminded me of like a young Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's just got kind of this, like, I need to do a job efficiently. Oh, fuck. Kind of like situation. Like he doesn't want to be there, but he does. Like, he's so invested in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something about Lars that just really, I like him. I like Lars.
Okay. Cool.
I like the faces he makes. I think that was another, like, some of the super sarcastic, smarmy faces that he would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were in the movie.
Yeah. I do remember when he was turning the orb around with the grabber. His whole, like, yep, look what fuck happened. What the fuck did you bring me? That kind of fucking attitude that he had, and he just had this old granny grabber rotating it around.
Yeah. He's very jaded to what seems like a kind of new job.
Yeah.
He's been around for like maybe a year.
He's the one in charge.
Yeah.
He's like, kill me now. There's nothing but teenagers and ghosts
pissed off
here.
all the time. All right. Cool.
Oh, man.
Well, that's good. Frank? Paul, you got anything else to add before we close it out?
Sorry, I've been replaying the entire movie in my head while we've been talking to try and think if there was anything else.
I feel like
I'm glad they finally got away from the Sumerian god bullshit.
Well, yeah.
Other than that, I don't know.
Okay.
I guess I'm also sad that they stopped doing that because
it's kind of their thing.
Well, because
maybe it turns out that that's who Garaka is actually working for. It's another Sumerian god.
Well, because the architect, what's his name? They even put
Ivor Shandor.
Yeah, they put him in Afterlife. Like they actually showed him, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay. And then you know for a fact that he was like a Sumerian god worshipping weirdo,
right?
But that he also built the library and this and this and this and this and this, and it was all like conduit bullshit for ghost activity. And they actually go to the library, and I'm just like, okay, like, so there's one side of it where I'm just like, so are they gonna touch back on this ever again, or
maybe that's the third.
To include him, I know why they included him in Afterlife because of Gozer, but still, I don't know. It feels like that is an integral part to New York and Ghostbusters is Ivo Shandor and his weird architectural ghost conduit bullshit.
Gotcha.
But I don't know.
Cool.
Still neat. I can't wait to see what they do with the rest of it.
Agreed. I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess for me, Paul, and Frank, Frank's kind of dipped out for a second.
Yeah.
That was the spoiler cast of sorts for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Yeah.
Here's to hoping the next one is as good or better.
The DVD is supposed to have a lot of extra content, though. So
no doubt.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
No doubt. Probably a Frozen Lucky too.
And until then, make sure busting makes you feel good before you bust it all.
Nice.
I don't know. Something like that. Do we have a sign off for this? Is still Kettle of Fish, right? Like that's,
no, yeah, it's just a little spoiler cast. I might what I'd probably do was is introduce or just put some music behind us or something.
Just be like, that's it, everybody, go home. Roll credits.